welcome to another episode of the Rhode Island Small Business Coalition's Small Business Forum. I'm your host, David Dadekian of Eat Drink Rhode Island, a small business here in Rhode Island, obviously. And with us today is Commerce Secretary Stefan Pryor, newly returned to the role of Secretary of Commerce. Welcome, Stefan. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you, David. Great to be back.
Thank you. So let's talk about that for a minute before we get into small business. So you left the role a few years ago to run for treasurer. Unfortunately, didn't make it. We've all been there. I ran for town council once. Yeah, Yeah. So after that, where'd you go? What did you? You went back into the private sector.
Well, first, the governor invited me back to serve as the housing secretary. I helped to set up the brand new housing operation for the state, and we established a new tax credit to promote housing, the largest bond in state history to get more housing going, to create more opportunities for Rhode Islanders. And then I went to the private sector. And in my role as private citizen, I was working for an investment firm that allowed me to work out of Rhode Island, my primary requirement, and would make investments through an impact investment firm. And then unexpectedly, the role did open back up, and I'm very pleased that the governor so kindly invited me back and back at it.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's nice to. I think it's great to have that prior knowledge, that experience to jump back into the role with and hit the ground running. So that's nice to hear. And certainly housing, we've talked about here on the show before. It's key to so much of what happens in the state. Obviously, yes. Hiring and for small businesses and housing go hand in hand often.
Yes, it does.
So that's a great knowledge base for you to have there as well. So you've been back in the role of secretary. I know the Senate has to swear you in and all that, but I'm assuming it's a formality since you've already held the role. How is it? What's changed since you were last in it? What do you feel?
Well, the conditions, obviously, the state of the world. Of course, there are variables, including tariffs and all the trade dynamics now. There's the challenge that relates to the funding volatility for universities and medical centers, eds and meds, as they say. And we have, a big part of our economy relates to our colleges and to our hospitals. And of course, there's also some challenges related to the federal administration and its perspective on offshore wind. So all those things are challenges, but frankly, I knew that they would be, and I knew that Hasbro would very likely be leaving. I knew all those things when I accepted the offer to come back, and I'm very grateful to Governor McKee and our partners in the General Assembly for the work we're doing, because it's an opportunity to look at the future given this new baseline. What is it that we can do together to ensure that moving forward, we are as strong as possible as a state?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting. You bring up a lot of issues that we've talked about. Some of our small businesses address. I mean, people don't necessarily think of small business when they think of Hasbro or those larger corporations. But having those entities within our region obviously helps the small businesses around them. Everything.
It certainly does.
Restaurants, and all of that. I mean, Hasbro was an interesting case. I mean, anyone I think who's paid attention to that market over the last 15, 20 years realizes that they're more of a intellectual property company now than anything else. So I don't think it's a big surprise to see them want to move to a bigger region with more of that type of talent. But I think. What do you see opportunities there in Pawtucket for small business? I think obviously the football club's been a success so far, and we've got a lot of love behind that. I think of Mayor Rebbe, and I think he needs a win. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, I do think that there's an incredible amount of momentum behind Rhode Island FC. People are enjoying the stadium, and part of our collective job as a state, not just the state government, is to ensure that there's spillover effect, that there are ripple effects, and that we see more happening in Pawtucket as a result. It'll take years to do it, but hopefully it won't take decades to really catalyze that and get that going with more ripple effects over the decades. I should say also, I mentioned those challenging features of the Rhode Island environment. I do also want to say that if you look at Governor McKee's track record over the course of his governorship, we've seen an increase of 36,000 private sector jobs. Oh, yeah. That's an 8.8% increase. There's been 6 million square feet of new development, just 6 million square feet of new development. Just if you think about the Amazon complex in Johnston, the 195 district in Providence, and the Quonset activity centered in North Kingstown, that's just there. So we're seeing more incoming activity, more growth in Rhode Island than we are any of these challenges. Net, we are doing better than we were before. But having said that, there are such challenges in the world. That's why I start by mentioning tariffs and trade. Right. There's such volatility that, when the world is on the verge of recession, if there is any possibility of that, or even just modest downturn, we need to protect Rhode Island. We need to make the right investments, and we need to make sure that we're focused on small businesses, which is why I'm so proud of the fact that some of the important programs, the core programs of commerce that are centered on small businesses that, quite frankly, I was a part of creating, they're still in effect, and they're doing new rounds of support for small businesses, and we're ever looking for new ways to reach out and to grow. So at the appropriate time, David, I want to tell small businesses about that, but we remain laser-like focused on small businesses because that's the heart of the economy.
Yeah, absolutely true. And I think it's interesting. You brought up, Amazon. You brought up Ørsted, been referring to the wind energy system that they're building. People don't think again of those as small businesses, but I remember when we had then Mayor Policina on from Johnston, the older Policina on. We talked about Amazon and how, again, all that around Amazon, the infrastructure that goes into it, the businesses around it, that should really see a benefit from having that type of business and those types of hundreds and thousands of employees coming through it every day.
Exactly.
So that's I think the same thing. With Ørsted and the wind farm. Not a small business, but there's always these subcontractors and little pieces of culture that are small businesses here in Rhode Island. I mean, I've been over to Quonset quite a bit this summer for different things. Adesia, not a business per se, but even as a nonprofit, she's got to run a business, and that certainly suffered because of the U.S. aid issues.
Yes, although they've seen a nice recovery with thanks to Navin Salem, their founder and CEO. Of course, they've seen a big influx of Bezos money. Speaking of Amazon, philanthropic money, and the state is behind them, and they are making it happen. To their credit, they've taken the initiative, and they've substantially healed. I'm sure they've suffered substantially, but they've substantially healed, and they're shipping out life-saving food and food products. So it's wonderful, and you make a very good point, David. These larger establishments, they do help smaller businesses. The food delivery shops, the cleaners, the hair cutters in our midst definitely benefit when Rhode Islanders are gainfully employed, and these services can either service the larger business or the individuals who are so employed. They're really important, and I'm grateful, and I feel like it's been a privilege. I was extremely involved with the development of the Amazon complex and with the fostering of offshore wind, and with a lot of partners. And each of these projects always faces its challenges and its ebb and flow. And we got to keep fighting for those projects that are good for Rhode Island and good for our small businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. So while we're on that subject, we talk about, the businesses around some of these places. I'm gonna bring up a topic that maybe you have an opinion on, maybe not. Maybe it's a sore topic. I hate to say, but downtown Providence and the so-called Superman building. I know you were very instrumental in working on that before. It hasn't really moved forward. What's going on there? Because that is, I think, definitely a key part of getting downtown activity going again. Yeah.
Well, I've frankly remained involved with it all through the recent years, including when I was a private citizen as a volunteer, have stayed involved with the project, with the teams working on it, and now, co-leading the new version. What happened was we did have a deal going back a few years ago, a deal to make it move forward. And that was exactly when interest rates went out of control and inflation really escalated, and there were supply chain problems. and it really interfered with the development team moving forward. Now, of course, we've seen the passing away of David Sweetser, the lead owner of the building. May he rest in peace.
Yeah.
We're very grateful for the efforts that he did undertake and the negotiations he did have with us in an effort to position that building for a revitalization. It is important to have, when hundreds of units of housing could be created, which is the current plan, hundreds of units of housing. That means feet on the street. That means customers for small businesses.
Right.
And it means overall vitality for our downtown, not to mention the very important fact that we will breathe new life into this important symbol of our city and state, of our capital city and state. So we are working on a new version. The project has, I helped to introduce the project team in my past life when I was housing secretary. I helped to introduce them to some federal programs, believe it or not, out of US DOT, the transportation agency at the federal level. It's transit-oriented development. Because the Superman building is near our MBTA Amtrak station, Providence Station, and near bus stops and is interconnected with our public transit, it's eligible for monies that are in the federal system for these purposes. So they're in search of, and they're in hot pursuit of, financing that will help to heal the hole in their budget. And there is a collaboration as between City Hall and us at Commerce and other players to see whether we can do a little bit more as well. And all of it is TBD as to the final version, but we're very optimistic that there is, in fact, a version that will lead this project to move forward.
That's good to hear. I have my fingers crossed for you as well. You mentioned DOT. Do you have much interaction with DOT and RIPTA and the bus hub that they keep trying to plan out, or kind of not been as involved with that?
Some. I certainly work very well with my colleagues at these agencies, and RIPTA was just into our Commerce board to do a presentation on their latest plans. So that was extremely helpful. But even, not just at formal board meetings, yes, we do have interactions. I will say on the bus hub project itself, I will be honest, I haven't, since my return to this job, had a thorough briefing, but I was involved just in terms of being briefed in past iterations of my service. I know that there are vigorous efforts to find a solution there. I have not been involved in these handful of weeks since I've been back.
Well, understandable. You can't be involved with everything, but I know that there's and again, we heard from a lot of small business owners when unfortunately RIPTA lost a lot of its funding in the last budget, that that affects their employees and some owners as well. I mean, that really is a key part of of the infrastructure for the state for small business. So
yes, it is.
Hopefully that moves forward in a positive direction.
We have something called the Wavemaker Fellowship. That was a program that I did help to create in my first tenure. And the Wavemaker Fellowship helps to repay a portion of the student debt that Rhode Islanders have if they're entering certain fields and they apply and in this selection process receive the award of these dollars for debt repayment. We have multiple fields that are eligible. It's the STEM fields: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. It's also design-related fields, and now healthcare and education are also included. Certain professions within the healthcare and education spaces are also included. And I'm glad that you asked me this question, so I'm going to shamelessly plug the program. For Rhode Islanders who find that it would be helpful to have some of their student loans repaid in order to remain in their job or to take a job in Rhode Island in these fields, we have an application deadline of November 10th. And we have funding for these various fields that I've described, up to $6,000 per year for 4 years. It depends on your actual student debt. There are formulas to calculate this, and it depends upon your eligibility. But take a look on the commerceri.com website for the Wavemaker Fellowship, deadline November 10th. And this helps us create and preserve our workforce, David.
Excellent. And we'll be linking all that up in the show notes below on YouTube and on the podcast channels. So that's great. We'll make sure we do that. You mentioned STEM. I think just a few weeks ago was announced the businesses that are going to the new life sciences building down there downtown. And those are relatively small businesses themselves, I mean, or to medium-sized businesses. So what could you tell us about that and those opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is on Richmond Street. People who are passing through Providence or people who live here and work here, on Richmond Street, one of the two larger developments going up there in the Jewelry District, or the 195 District, as we now call it, of course, is the State Health Laboratory, which is moving from Orbs Street, where it's in a dilapidated facility, operated there all through COVID. It was run down, it was leaking. We needed to replace that facility. We got a more than $80 million grant from the CDC federally, over 80 million bucks to Rhode Island, so that we could help to build a new health lab. I worked with our former health director to advocate for that then, and to specifically, I was a very vigorous advocate of placing it in the 195 district, where it could be catalytic in combination with Brown's Medical School, the Cambridge Innovation Center CIC incubator in the relatively new building there, with the new residential that's being built there. So in any case, we did that, and we built private laboratory space around the State Health Laboratory. Inside of that space, there's a group called Portal that's going to curate or coordinate the private laboratory space, some of it, as an incubator, as a shared space model. And we've got 4 going on, 5 going on more small ventures in the life sciences that are moving in already, that are getting ready to move in any case, and are already going to start anchoring that facility. So it's quite frankly already proving itself to be a success, and more to come.
That is fantastic news. That is really, really something to hear. One more question for you, and then I want to hear, like you mentioned, some of these commerce programs that are still active.
Please.
But my last question is, because you mentioned tariffs, we've had a lot of feedback from our small businesses about tariffs affecting them. The uncertainty really has been the biggest issue. But there are price increases, obviously. Is there anything that we can do at the state level that you're able to do to work on these issues?
Well, honestly, I'd point to, because it can have a financial impact on a business. If it means that you're having trouble acquiring your inventory, but you have a way forward as a small business, or just anything that affects you financially, we do have small business loans.
Yep.
Now, obviously, you have to qualify, but we've worked hard to create programs that enable more Rhode Island small businesses to qualify. These are also programs that I created during my first tenure. I'm proud of them. Among the most important programs we have at Commerce, they're the Small Business Assistance Program, or SBAP, SBAP, Small Business Assistance Program. Look for it on our website, again, commerceri.com. And the Small Business Assistance Program has made approximately 300 loans over the course of its life. Its original capitalization, the original investment, was around $10 million. It's leveraged about $30 million in funding. It's a big multiplier. It helps small businesses through these private lenders that we bring in through the program to leverage more dollars for themselves. We have seven lending partners. 4 of them do all manner of small business loans. It's all for small businesses.
Yep.
And 3 of them do microloans, meaning that even loans as small as $2,000. We did that in one of the iterations on my watch that we were aiming to do. So we have these partners available. So basically what I'm expressing is, if you are facing economic challenges and you think a loan could be helpful, it actually could get you through and will let you reposition or just let you do the things you need to do. commerceri.com, SBAP, Small Business Assistance Program. There are other small business loans that are available through some of our other programs, our sister and brother programs. There's the Small Business Loan Fund, SBLF. There are SSBCI loans, which is the State Small Business Credit Initiative. Look for SBAP, SSBCI, and SBLF. I know that's a lot of letters.
Yeah.
But just look for small business loans on our website. Yeah. Don't worry about what I just said. You'll find it. And our staff can be helpful to you if you're looking to figure out how to navigate it.
Excellent. Yeah, and like I said, we'll link all that up down below so you can access it easily. Any other programs you wanted to mention before we go?
If you are a company that is trying to research new products, new services to enter into the market, if you're engaged in innovation, so if there's a knowledge partner, meaning a university, a hospital, another research organization in Rhode Island that can help you figure out how to take it to the next level. If you're that kind of small business, then we have something called innovation vouchers. Innovation vouchers also started during my first tenure. We're very, very proud of them. Has invested over $6.4 million since its inception, leading to over 43.7 million in new private and federal investments, almost a 7 times return on investment. Okay, these innovation vouchers, they're effectively small grants. They're up to $75,000 a pop, and they help a small business that's trying to get with a medical center to figure out, okay, how can I take this device and innovate on it? Or get with a university and say, how can I take my product to the next level? We will pay the partner for you, so we can pay URI, or we can help Brown University Health or Care New England help you figure out that next step, and we pay them, and it's free of charge to you. If you are a small manufacturing business, a small business in manufacturing, you can do that R&D right in-house, and we'll also pay you up to $75,000. There's an application process. Applications are accepted quarterly. They just opened on October 6th for the most recent round, and they will be accepted until November 4th, the end of the business day on November 4th. And there'll be a virtual information session on October 15th at noon. So you can register for that, or just look into the program and figure out whether it's for you and apply at, you guessed it, commerceri.com. Innovation vouchers.
Yeah, I've happened to know a few small businesses and people at Brown URI that have participated with those vouchers in the past, and they love it. It's been a great program.
I'm so glad to hear you say that. I get such good feedback on it. When I'm out and about, I hear from business owners, small business owners all over the place saying it's helped them.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else?
I think we hit most of the points,
right.
But I did want to say, if you didn't hear something mentioned that would help you specifically, your business specifically, and you want to know, whether there's a program for you, we have, for example, we were talking a little bit about the larger players, the primes, the anchors in our state, and you want to interconnect to see, could I be a supplier to them? Could I get some business from them? We have something called Supply RI. That's a program you can also find information about on our website. So if there are things you're looking for as a small business, check out commerceri.com, and also just contact us, and we're very happy to help you.
Yeah, Supply RI, I know, just, from my world, the food and drink world has been a great assistance to a lot of getting the suppliers to the institutions. And so that's a great one to bring up. Thank you.
I'm so glad it has been helpful. And David, thank you for all your leadership and service.
It is my pleasure, Stefan. Thank you for being back in the role, for continuing to want to be part of state government. I know it's been about 10 years for you now.
Yeah, it really has. It's about a decade. Yeah. You're correct.
Yeah. So good for you. Thank you very much for your.
It's a privilege to do the work, honestly. I'm honest to serve Rhode Islanders and look forward to a lot more progress together.
That's very nice to hear. And it's great to see. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is our Commerce Secretary, Stefan Pryor. Thank you very much for your time today, sir. And,
thank you, David. Thanks to Jen Ortiz. Thanks to Ben Barber, and to everyone involved with this production. Really grateful. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. That's very much appreciated. Thank you for the kind words. As always, if you're watching this on YouTube, we'd love a like, subscribe, comments. All the things you're supposed to do on YouTube. I don't know why we all have to say that, but we do. And then if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast network, make sure you check out the show notes below for all the links to those things, and give us a subscribe and a rating there as well if you can. Until next time, thank you very much for watching. We really appreciate it. Take care.